Well, good morning, everyone, and good afternoon to those of you out in the East, and welcome to everybody that's listening to the call on the recording. What another great day we're having. It's another Tuesday, and this is the edition of the doctor's call. We're kind of going to continue with what we left off with last Tuesday. We were talking about, what products went along good with the age pill, what products went good with stem cells, and rebuilding your body, and that's kind of the magic is rebuilding it, and remodeling what needs to be fixed, and so that's really where a lot of the science is going these days, is going into how to repair the body and keep it healthy, so that's what we're going to talk about. My name is Dr. Kurt Visnick. I'm a chiropractor. However, I haven't practiced chiropractic now in 11 years since a bad motorcycle accident, and before that, I was really kind of dabbling in the anti-aging market, and so I'm really kind of pursuing my passion of building a age reversal type of practice, and those of you that are familiar with the Sizzle products, especially the age pill, you'll know some of the science that I've been handing out and posting on Facebook about how the ingredients in the age pill are being researched by top universities. Harvard has done a bunch of research, and Stanford and University of Iowa Medical Center has done research, and they all have come to the conclusion that the ingredients, primarily the nicotinamide riboside and the nicotinamide mononucleotide, are great ingredients for rebuilding the stem cells. And then when you combine it with other products, it's like putting a supercharger on your engine in your car, and it really goes to town and makes some things work. So with that, I want to introduce my friend and another doctor that is pursuing the same type of practice. We were talking this morning, and he's really going to retire, in the near future from the chiropractic world, and work kind of in this age reversal market along with me. So, Dr. Kim, welcome to the call.
Well, thank you, Dr. Kurt. It's my pleasure to be here. It's some exciting times.
It's a lot of fun to be doing what we're doing, isn't it?
It is, and it's really tough to keep up with the amazing strides that are being made on a daily basis, and I was just thinking how trying to put all these products together that Tom Maurer has developed, and I have come to realize since in the last about 5-6 months since I've been with Sizzle that Tom's pretty much a brilliant guy, and he has produced a line of supplements that can really benefit a lot of people. They offer a lot of answers to the problems that we face, every day in our lives. Learning how to use them is a challenge to a certain degree, but I really defer to his brilliance, to putting this line together. It's pretty amazing. I had one of my distributors contact me not too long ago, and she was wondering about what's the best way to use the Sizzle products. What goes together, what doesn't. We look at the age pill. It's kind of like the core product that we can build around with other things. And she was saying, what can we take with the age pill? When should we take it? Questions like this. Maybe we could spend some time talking about that this morning, because, and I will admit, you know a heck of a lot more about that than I do at this point. I'm still in learning mode, so maybe we can start with the age pill. I usually recommend to my patients or the people that I bring into Sizzle start taking the product that if they're over 40, that they consider taking a double dose for several months when they start out. Do you do that, Dr. Kurt?
Yeah, I really do, because that was what Tom's original recommendation. I still think he recommends the same thing, taking a double dose in the beginning, just because, after about the age of 40, our stem cells have gone into the senescence, they've gone to sleep, gone into hibernation, and you got to kind of, in a way, kickstart them. And it takes a little bit to get the ball rolling, more or less. And that's why we recommend that double dose right away in the beginning. And then once you get things kind of moving in the right direction, then you're able to cut back and cut back to the regular dose. And for those of you that are new to Sizzle, those of you that are just learning about it, a regular dose is 3 in the morning, 3 in the afternoon, and then a double dose is 6 in the morning and 6 in the afternoon or the evening. And but Tom says that if you want to get really good benefits and not have to take 6 and 6, he said you can also take 3 in the morning, 3 around noon, and then 3 at the nighttime, and then you get that constant influx of the ingredients all day long. And there's just so much science on it, with like I said, the nicotinamide riboside, the nicotinamide mononucleotide, and the tyrosine or the tryptophan, that helps rebuild the stem cells and it helps the body so that you get this energy from the NAD plus. And NAD plus, of course, being a energy component in the Krebs cycle. And for those of you that remember your high school and your college biology, the Krebs cycle is where your body makes energy from the food that you eat. And so NAD is one of the primary fuels for that. And Dr. Kim, I think you were talking about a doctor friend of yours that's actually doing injections of NAD, right?
Yeah, it's a kind of a new thing because raising NAD is really, really important, and that's why the H pill is important. And I remember in a conversation that we had with one of the top stem cell researchers and Tom some months ago. Tom pointed out that the stem cell researcher agreed is that you can't raise NAD levels by taking orally NAD. It just doesn't work. So there's only basically 2 ways of doing it, and that's through IV or taking the precursors, which of course we find in the H pill. So I talked to her the other day. She had done her first injection. It was actually getting some pretty startling and amazing results with the first one. So it's a really interesting and exciting new procedure. But we can accomplish the same thing with the H pill. Now we might not.
Yeah, and weren't you saying that she's now going to start using the H pill with her patients?
Well, that's the plan, because we think that putting people on the H pill is going to really set the stage for people that she may decide to do the IV NAD with. And for other people, they may not need an NAD IV if they're on the H pill. So it's a lot remains to be seen at this point. But we're going to learn, and we're going to see what really works well with people.
Right. Well, and it just when you bring those stem cells out of hibernation, bring them out of that senescence, I mean, it's all good. I mean, everything is good. You're stimulating the body to have more energy, stimulating the repair of the stem cell.
Absolutely. Not only the repair, they get. I guess a good analogy that I use is they just get coated with that lipofusion, and they just now don't work good. They just can't do what they need to do. So when we start basically cleaning those stem cells up, they can now start functioning. It's like taking an engine that's been run for 100,000 miles without changing the oil, and it gets all sludged up. It doesn't work good. You clean it out, it can start working better, right?
There you go. Yeah. And so that kind of brings me to, some of the products that we were going to talk about. How do they work with the age pill? And when I was down in Australia a month ago, hard to believe it was a month ago already, but one of the things that I talked about is that I really feel that the Eternity product, which is resveratrol, it's high potency resveratrol, and you combine the resveratrol product with the age pill. And the reason that I find these two are kind of like what I consider kind of the 1-2 punch is that if you look at some of the research that's been done on resveratrol at Harvard University, Dr. David Sinclair, he was able to show that it switches on the SIRT1 gene, the sirtuin genes, and there's 7 sirtuin genes, and those are the genes that do the DNA repair. And resveratrol, it's a substance that they found that if you take it in high enough quantities, you can actually switch on the SIRT1 gene, the gene that's used for the repair of the DNA. And so, the problem, without getting into talking about Eternity and talking about resveratrol, the problem with most resveratrol products is that by the time they put it in the product, it's already been oxidized, and so it's 90% ineffective. And what Tom figured out how to do was to make it so that our product is 100% effective rather than losing 90% of its effectiveness. So we've got a really, really good resveratrol product. But resveratrol tends to be somewhat limited. It needs to have fuel. So it's like, here I am, I'm driving along the highway, and you see these guys out there doing a road repair. Well, if you don't give them fuel, if you don't give them lunch or dinner, you don't give them breakfast, they're going to run out of steam, and they're not going to be able to do any work out on the highway. And that's kind of the same thing when you think of the resveratrol and the NAD, kind of the combination. It's you got the workers, which is the resveratrol, and then you got the fuel, which is the NAD. And that's what keeps it going, so it can repair those DNA strands. And people say, well, how do I know that I need it? Well, science has shown that our DNA, our chromosomes, are getting damaged about 10 times every day, and so it'd be pretty much impossible for you to be the one out of thousands that maybe doesn't have any DNA damage. And so, just consider that you're part of the normal population, and you need that. But, Dr. Kim, when we're talking about other products, too, we really have to look at, if you're going to spend the money on age pill, if you're going to spend the money on resveratrol, what's your thoughts? Do you think that people ought to start looking at what are they dumping in their body that's actually causing the oxidation to begin with? Maybe that's something to add next, is actually not adding something, but taking away the toxic products that they use every day.
Oh, absolutely. And maybe everybody saw this, but they just found that that Roundup glyphosate is in 100% of the wines they tested from California.
Wow.
100%. I remember listening to Dr. Zach Bush, and he said that glyphosate now is ubiquitous. It's everywhere, that 99% of the people in this country have been affected by glyphosate. And that creates that primarily it's the number one creator of leaky gut syndrome, which is allowing toxins to migrate through the intestinal lining and into the rest of the body, getting into the cells, getting the nucleus of the cell, actually creating what we call epigenetic change in the DNA of the cell, and it's a huge problem. So we got to look at closing those gaps, taking care of that leaky gut, getting as much glyphosate out of our system. It's primarily found in the grains that we eat. Of course, the animals that we eat are being fed grains. They're going to carry it. So it's a huge problem. But what we're doing is not only getting it in their diet, but we're putting chemicals on our body. We're using shampoos and soaps from from the store that are carrying a lot of chemicals.
Wait.
Thomas,
So you're trying to tell me that stores are allowed to sell products that are toxic?
Well, you have to go in the back room to get them. Of course they are, Dr. Kurt. You know that.
They can't sell toxic products. That'd be against the law, wouldn't it?
Oh, silly boy.
But,
well,
yeah.
This is a struggle that we're facing every day, and we just go on with our lives when we think we're doing good, but we're being inundated by toxins everywhere. So, Tom has a line of shampoos and shower gels, things like that are non-toxic, toothpaste, and stuff like that, which really work well, and they're awesome, and they will kind of cut down on getting stuff absorbed through our skin into our body. So we've got a lot of solutions to the toxicity problem with our product line.
Yeah,
it's just a matter of learning how to do it. Yep, that's it.
Yeah, I mean, you look at. Go
ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no, go ahead. I interrupted you.
I wanted to backtrack just a little bit back on the age pill for a second, since we're talking about uses and things like that. And I've had just a couple instances where people started the age pill and gotten that niacin flush. And do you tell your people when they start the age pill about that and what to expect?
Usually not, just because it seems like it's such a small percentage. Usually what I tell people is that what I want them to do is to call me and let me know within the first couple days that they take the product, how are they feeling? Because if they tell me that they're having that, then of course I'm going to explain it to them. But most people, I'll be real honest with you, Dr. Kim. I'll say 99% of the people that I get taking it, within a couple days, they're calling me up and saying, "Holy cow, what's in there?"
Yeah, I haven't. I've been dealing with nutritional stuff for 45 years, and I haven't seen a product all that period of time that gets the results that the age pill does in usually such a quick period of time. It really works. But I usually do kind of caution my a new person taking it that, and I said it's very, very rare. But if you find your face getting red and you feel warm, that's your body opening up its capillaries. That means it's working, and I know it might scare you at first, but it's totally harmless. And drink some extra water, that might help, and it'll just go away. Just to
take a smaller dose too.
Yeah, first time it does happen to you, it can be a little scary. So I do try to kind of.
But you know what I was reading that if people notice that niacin flush, that it actually indicates that they're healthier than the people who don't get it.
I'll be darned.
Yeah. So it actually tells us that you and I are the abnormal people.
I did get a little.
But you do that.
Yeah.
You knew you were abnormal.
I certainly am. Why be normal, right?
Why be normal? And as we look at the the age pill, and we look at resveratrol, and we look at removing the toxic products that are causing the damage and things like that. The other thing then I talk to people about is, if you're going to spend the money, you're buying the products, you're buying the age pill, you're changing, your personal care products. The next thing that I really got to talk to people about is that they've found that if you do a low carb type of diet where you cut your carbs down to 20% of your caloric intake, they're actually finding that it stimulates the resveratrol and the nicotinamide riboside in the age pill, and actually makes it work better as well. Did you read that? I sent you that article.
I think I read it. I don't know when you said it, but I've been recommending that for people for years. So that's even more reinforcement as to why a low carb diet, the big fat or the big science is on the ketogenic diet, which, of course, is very, very low carbohydrate diet. And not to be confused with like an Atkins diet, which is high protein. The ketogenic diet is more high fat, medium protein, and very low carbohydrate. And that can do a lot for people in combination with our products.
Yeah, and then we gotta add, when you talk about, getting the proper fats and things like that, so another product that goes well with the H pill is the super omega, the super omega plus, because it's got the right blend of the different omegas. It's not just omega 3, but it's got omega 5, it's got omega 7, it's got the omega 3, it's got the omega 9, all blended in with CoQ10 at the same time, because Tom was just really looking at it going, each one of those oils has a special property in the body, and so why not blend it with the CoQ10? Because most people really aren't getting CoQ10. They're actually getting an inactive form of CoQ10 that's probably more like CoQ9, and it's not doing what it's supposed to do. And CoQ10 is an enzyme that your cardiovascular system needs, and so really, really important, a great antioxidant for the body. But the other thing is Spectromax, and what Spectromax is, it's a multi-mineral product. It's got 74 trace minerals. And when you say trace mineral, it means that you don't need much of them, but they're essential trace minerals. And what that means is when you see essential, it means that your body doesn't make them. You have to get it from your diet. You have to get these minerals from your diet. And most of us just aren't getting them. And most supplements, they'll say they're and I won't mention any names, but you look at the best-selling brand of vitamin, multivitamin, and mineral on the market, they just throw it in there, and it's not in the right form. Your body can't absorb it. And so who cares if you've got magnesium in there, if it's basically, going in like chalk and coming out like chalk? It doesn't work. And I ask people, like here I'm sitting at a rest stop along the highway, and I'm looking at these trees, and you ever wonder, how does a tree actually absorb the minerals out of the ground to make that big old tree that's growing there? And the roots of the tree emit something called fulvic acid, not folic acid, fulvic, Fulvic, fulvic acid. And what that fulvic acid does is it dissolves the minerals, it dissolves the rocks, and then the tree can absorb the minerals out of the ground. And so in our body, we need fulvic acid in order for our body to absorb the minerals in the products that we have. So we've actually added it to the Spectromax, so that we make the Spectromax, we make the minerals that much more effective. And so again, when you're looking at the body, I mean, there's 2,000, 3,000 different biological processes taking place all the time, and you need minerals. And if you get to a certain step in the biological process, and that mineral that's needed for the next step is missing, what happens is the body doesn't just skip the step and say, oh, we'll just go on to the next part of it. No, what the body does is it shuts down. It shuts down that biological process. And you start wondering, why are people so sick these days? Well, that's part of the reason. Right, Dr. Kim? Wouldn't you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You got to have the right fuel to get the engine running, right? I mean, you can have the greatest car in the world and you put crappy fuel in it, and it doesn't burn the fuel right. You're not going anywhere. So, yeah, it's very important. I feel fortunate. I've been supplementing my diet with good stuff for almost 50 years, and I'll be 67 1 week from today, and I feel great. I feel as good as I ever did, and people look at me and they can't believe I'm that old until they hear me talk, and then they realize I'm pretty old. But yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but it's really important, and I look at what I take. I take that Triangle Life, the resveratrol, the Spectromax, the Ficoidin, which is an absolutely phenomenal product. I throw in the Encompass 360 to get the mineral or the vitamins, and of course my H pill. And we didn't talk about the RIP product, but that's such a essential part of the program, because as we age, we start, just the process of aging, we start losing muscle mass. And if we can conserve and add to that muscle mass, we're going to go, a real long way to retarding and reversing the aging process. And so it's an amazing line of products.
I'll tell you what, Dr. Kim, when I was down in Australia, my mom, I had talked her into going to a physical therapist and doing some exercise for her back, because she's always had kind of a weak back, and I wanted her to go in and do some rehab on her back. And the physical therapist was busy on her cell phone and not paying any attention. She actually overstretched my mom's leg and broke my mom's hip, right? And so when my mom walked around for a month on a broken hip, and it wasn't just a fracture; it was actually displaced by about an inch. And so when I got back from Australia, I had my mom go in and get checked, and they did an X-ray of it. She'd already seen the physical therapist a couple times, and they just said, "Oh yeah, you just need more massage." And she saw another doctor who said, "Oh, it's your back," And nobody ever took an X-ray of her hip, so they didn't even know there was a broken hip. But long story short, she goes into the orthopedic guy, and he said to me and my dad, he said, "I don't know how your mom put up with that. She was walking on it for a month, and that hip joint, the femur, the neck of the femur, was grinding into all that muscle of the buttock muscle, and it should have caused a bunch of scar tissue, but he said there was no scar tissue in there." And he said, "Your mom should have been in a ton of pain. She should have been screaming in pain." And he said, "I couldn't believe it. Your mom didn't have any pain." And so I talked to him about the age pill and the Triangle of Life and the Super Omega and the RIP product. And he was especially interested in the RIP product. I just happened to be carrying around the copy of the science article on it that says that you can recover from a joint replacement 40% faster. And I gave that to him, and he said he's looking at it. He snatched it out of my hands right away, and he said, "Where do I get this?" He said, "Where do I get this?" And so these doctors, they're looking for the products that we have. They just don't know that they exist. And here my mom is. She's walking now really good. She doesn't have any pain. 2 days after the surgery, she was really not taking any painkillers at all. I mean, every once in a while they had to give her a Tylenol, but really 2 days after the surgery, they had to do a joint replacement surgery pretty much, and they weren't giving her any strong painkillers at all. And now she's walking with just a cane, and rehab is going really, really good. Her back is getting stronger. Her hip is getting stronger. And, the doctors they're telling us it has to do with the products she's taking.
Yeah. Well, they do work.
Pretty cool. Oh, man.
And they work.
Well, and then on top of it, doctor.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, my dad, we were hanging around the hospital with my mom after the surgery, eating hospital food, and he got a case of E. coli, eating hospital food, right?
Yeah.
And not just in his gut, but he got it systemically in his blood, and so right away they put him into the hospital, and they rechecked him the next day. And using the different sizzle products, like the Avenger, his E. coli was gone the next day when they did the lab test, and the infectious disease control doctor, he couldn't believe that it was gone that quickly. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, they're lucky to have a son that knows some stuff.
Yeah, I wish I knew that guy.
Good info. Yeah. Good info, Dr. Kurt. Great call.
Well, we're at the bottom of the hour. Is anything else that you can think of? I think we should just continue the same talk next week on your birthday. We'll talk about how to get Dr. Kim to actually be 30 again. What do you think of that?
Hey, sounds like a plan.
Sound like a plan? All right.
Yes,
well,
sir.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.
And thanks for joining us. Dr. Kim, thanks for jumping on and being part of the call. And maybe we can get one of your other docs to jump on and share some of their thoughts as well. Maybe Dr. Z or Dr. Lucky or one of them can jump on and share some ideas.
Sure. Absolutely.
That'd be cool. All right. Well, thanks, everyone, for jumping on the call and taking the time out of your day to be here. Share this with other people. I'll have it posted on the Sizzle World Team website later today when I stop and I take a break. I'll have it posted to there. Until then, we'll see you next week. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.